Interesting in there about the connection between openness and willingness to be challenged and willingness to put yourself in situations where what you want is challenge. Also, I was struck as you were speaking then of the famous saying by Sir Isaac Newton that even he saw further because he stood on the shoulders of giants.
Yes.
And one of the things that I insist creative development producers joining Magic Lantern, my company, do is that they read Aristotle, which seems like a rather odd, Aristotle's Poetics. Seems like a rather odd suggestion when we work at the height of the web and mobile phones, but actually what we do is stories, and what we do is meaning, and what we do is sharing ideas with each other. And there's nothing better been written since Aristotle's Poetics on the underpinnings of that. And normally a 22-year-old with a master's degree in digital media thinks I'm mad. And then when they've struggled through the Poetics, they think I'm still mad, but now they know why they think I'm mad, which is much more preferable. But the scientific innovation and creative artistic innovation are clearly a combination of knowing what's gone before and impressing yourself on what's coming next. That's broadly what you're saying. How do we encourage that mindset in the young? I hate saying that, I'm 37 years old, but how do we do that?
Say that last thing again, I'm having difficulty.
How do we encourage that? Do our educational systems encourage that mindset in the young?
Through education, through schooling.
But does it work?
Schooling is a more accurate word than education. Education is a bigger word than school. You don't have to go to school to get educated, but you have to go to school to get schooled. And the way the system is the school. So you do it through the school. It takes a whole different attitude in a way to the school, so that you learn to respect the past. There's no easy, fast way in, but the new technologies can help us enormously move with great speed into a subject. And Europe, of all places, in terms of cultural heritage and history and what it has actually given the world, a great shame to emerge from this particular forum without at least mentioning it. A little look over our shoulders wouldn't do any harm. Look at the past, and you will see the future, the possibility of the future. Or do a full 360-degree turn, and you'll end up at your beginning again. So somehow or other, that's why archives are very important. They sound very boring. They don't sound like innovation. They sound like collective. Archives are terribly important. And the digitization of archives and the ability to be able to reach in through digital technology into the archives, take stuff out and recreate it and use it again. The public access to archives is very important. This is the memory of the race. And culture is one of the ways, whatever culture means. But, cultural expressions are one of the ways that we mark the history of mankind. So we have to look in there. The wisdom is actually in there. It is a wisdom. It is a kind of knowing. And that's what we need to base it on. So I would say, Anthony, that it is through educational curriculum, and from the very, very kindergarten up to university. And normally, in my experience, the best way to begin is to build that house is not actually on the ground up; it's actually up down. You start at the highest level within the university system. You find out what it is, and then you let it drop down until it begins to touch a 3-year-old on her first day in play school. So there is a way of doing it, and the system is all there.
And there are kind of theories about what some of the new media technologies are doing to the kinds of learning and the kinds of education that we need. It's an area I spend quite a lot of time working in. If you believe, as some people do, that every fact that we might need to know is only one Google away, one click away. What are the skills that you need to navigate that universe? And how are they different from the way our education systems have been constructed? Because I come from an educational tradition that values knowledge of information probably higher than it values the ability to manipulate information and create novelty from that. Are we in danger of our education system not catching up with this change in human thinking skills?
No, I don't. It wouldn't be my experience. No, I don't think so. I think I'm talking about the university sector now. Is under, is very, very happy if they're given the money to put plasma screens in every teaching room and to go distance learning. And, it's going like that all the time. Technology is getting cheaper, technology is getting smaller, technology is getting more portable, and it's getting easier to use. because the human interface with the computer is something that's obviously in the interests of the economic side of the house to make it as easy as possible. So, you know, if it works like a fridge, that's the way it should be. So the thing is there, I think, and again, the other thing is like technical knowledge of that sort, and with younger generations. And it's still happening, isn't it? You know, the 12-year-old is surprising the 25-year-old mother or father. And when that 12-year-old is 19 or something, his or her niece will surprise them at the age of 8. It's a bit like popular culture. It doesn't get taught. It gets passed on between the kids. So there's a natural facility in a way with it. I'm not saying that universities shouldn't teach, obviously, the skills of accessing, you know, but you find increasingly that people are coming into the system with that knowledge anyway, whether they've learned it through video games or whether they've learned it through any kind of literal digital manipulation of machines. But there is obviously the intersection of the new technologies of digitalization and the accumulation of knowledge and the transmission of knowledge. But what is important, and you and I were talking a little bit about this last night, how the more and more technology takes over tasks that we have, I forget the exact situation, it makes us more and more aware of the human things of what we do. And something very, very special is actually, it's what's left over. You suddenly realize that is not repeatable. And within education, that is about bodies. You know, it's about embodied knowledge you know, sending it on a disk or sending it across the wire. But ultimately, as I mentioned earlier, it's about a relationship between the teacher and the student. And out of that relationship, which is invisible like any relationship, but it is a life in itself, it's a kind of life, it's a fertility. Out of that relationship, if you have a skilled educator, an educator with heart, out of that relationship comes something. Whether it comes immediately or whether it comes in 10 years' time, whether it's measurable or not measurable, that's another problem. I mean, just because something isn't measurable doesn't mean it's not there.